Whether on premise, hybrid, or in the cloud, RCS gives broadcasters the tools and support to create, schedule, manage, and deliver content with confidence. RCS is the trusted leader for audio professionals.
Dear listener, welcome to the Quarter Hour. I'm Wade Kingsley. Now today, we're talking about something that you would normally tune out of, but definitely shouldn't. It's time to talk commercials, because for me, commercials are a hidden part of a programmer's toolkit. Now, you might think I'm going crazy by saying commercials are part of a programmer's toolkit, but if you're in programming or in content, you have to think about it like this. Imagine you're the CEO of, say, Qantas. Halfway through any flight, a passenger on board your plane can hit a button and be instantly transported to a Virgin flight. Now, other industries don't have the problems that radio has in terms of retention. Because for Qantas, if you sell a ticket, you're pretty sure that passenger isn't going to change airlines mid-flight. But obviously, if you're a radio programmer or you're producing content, the ability for someone to hit a button and go to a competitor is immediate and it's in their hands. But there's a big hidden factor that I think is overlooked when it comes to programming, and that is the commercial breaks. We know radio cume has largely held up worldwide, but time spent listening, people sticking around for longer, is a huge challenge. So I thought it was time to introduce some commercial talk into the Quarter Hour podcast. And I've got two of the best. I've got Chris Greggson, who is the head of creative services at Tapt Media. G'day, Grego.
G'day. Nice to be here. Thank you.
And to continue the nickname trend, Matt Dickson, or Dicko, who is the Western Australian commercial strategy leader for SCA. G'day, Dicko.
Hello, Wade. Hello, Chris. How are you?
Excellent, guys. Thanks for joining us. We're going to talk ads, which I know is a topic that you both have spent your whole careers talking about. So before we get into it, Dicko, I'll start with you. Just give us a quick mud map of your career in radio.
Oh, okay. I started writing ads on the 26th of May, 1997 at 2GZ in Orange, New South Wales. I already knew that's what I wanted to do. I'd grown up doing two things. I used to write a poem in every birthday card that I gave anyone, and I used to tell dirty jokes into a cassette player. So I kind of am just reliving my childhood. From Orange, moved to Perth, then to Sydney, and then back to Perth, and then worked in a couple of national roles based out of Perth because I love the taste of aeroplane food. So roughly 25 years in audio. I keep doing the same thing because I love doing it.
Awesome. And Grego, you're a WA boy?
Yeah, there's a West Aussie theme. Got into it in 1990, thought I wanted to be a music announcer, and it did that for about 5 years, different stations in WA, but took a job in Lithgow knowing nothing about it, thinking I've got to go east as every West Aussie would. Turned up there and, wow, this is somewhat different. The only thing I'd heard about was Roy and HG taking the pee out of it back in the day on, I think, This Sporting Life. But started writing more ads there and took a full-time gig at 2UE back in 95. It was Laws, Hadley, Zamanik, Jones. It was talk, and it was pretty big. UE was the place to be. And I've kind of been doing that ever since, in and out of radio. Tapt, as it is now, started here in 2006 after sort of working in agency land. And here we are, 2026, and I'm over 20 years in the one place with a lot of different owners, but there has been plenty of colour and movement in that time. But yeah, a commercial copywriter through and through.
Absolutely. Well, that's great to have you both on because I think you are both best of class when it comes to commercial creative. And I think that's something that is underlooked or underused in terms of programming. You're both really passionate about what the power of creative audio can do. Dicko, if you're talking to a client and you're saying, this is the power of what we can do, how do you explain why audio is so special?
Couple of things. Usually I talk about portability. So the fact that audio is anywhere means we are most often the last medium to reach people before purchase. So hence things involving petrol stations or anything when you're in the car will go nuts. But also there's the trust factor of audio. And I think this applies to FM and AM radio. I think radio stations are unique in that you don't see people with bumper stickers for newspapers or even TV stations on their cars. I've never seen like a Channel 10 polo shirt worn by a punter. You see them by staff all the time. And I think advertisers can tap into that passion that people have for the brand. The third thing I think is entertainment value, particularly FM, but AM is a different, or talk is a different proposition. But I think people tune in to be entertained. And brands can form part of that entertainment, particularly in FM. I think brands can be entertaining, and it's not that hard to do.
Exactly. And I'm glad you said entertaining, because there's around about, depending on the format, 12 to 15 minutes an hour where programmers have the ability to entertain and retain an audience, but sometimes don't see that opportunity. Chris, in the talk environment, obviously talk is more of a lean forward format, but what do you say to clients and advertisers who want to understand the power of what talk can do?
Well, I always think about the structure of a break, and you're right. Probably 42 minutes of content. You got some news in there, and then you've got commercials as well. I always like to look at the break as a whole, and how can that client sit in that break, and depending on where they are, how are they going to stand out? Is it as I've said before, the moment of rest, that little pause, so suddenly people are prompted to jump into the spot? Is it live reads in talk? A beautiful kind of interrupter in the break for talk and bringing the power of the personality is a live read. And it's a long form conversation, and there's a real knack to doing it right. You want to lead the presenter as far as you can to really championing the cause of the advertiser, sound genuine, sound enthused, but you don't want them to sell their soul either. But the audience with live, it's still just such an incredibly integrated and powerful tool. So the ability to stand out on talk, one, live reads, and on the flip side, use music as well. Like jingles are incredibly powerful on talk because it's information heavy, information rich. There's a lot of talking going on. So, engage some space, some room, and music works beautifully on talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Dicko, I've asked you and Chris to bring along some spots today because it's rare that I think in radio we sit down and actually listen to a commercial in terms of us being inside the building. We're very au fait with listening to the content on The Breakfast Show and what happened with this show and Drive, but sitting and listening to commercials I think is a really important thing. So what spot have you brought for us to start with?
The first ad I've got for you is one I wrote for Sea Shepherd, and I've chosen this because it's it wasn't deliberately annoying for content, but it did annoy the heck out of some content people. It relies on dead air. And again, as Chris talked about, that pause where you interrupt, and it's in a good way. Radio is a flow state. So most of the time, if people are at home, put the radio on, they'll just leave it. Any sort of pause or anything that's different will cause an attention spike. So in this ad, I use dead air. And I think the line is, if dead air makes you feel uncomfortable, imagine what dead oceans feels like. So it's a 45-second spot. There's 4 to 5 second gaps of silence in there. I wanted them to get as close as we could to the emergency tape going off before it did. And the point of it is to make people uncomfortable. It's probably not a content director's best friend in terms of radio ads, but I know it resonated. And we're not always trying to make people happy. In this case, I was trying to get people to donate to a good cause by making them feel uncomfortable.
Let's have a listen.
This is what's called dead air. It's an uncomfortable gap of no sound on your radio. Radio stations hate it. It's so uncomfortable people usually switch stations. So if dead air makes you feel uncomfortable, imagine what dead oceans feel like. Our oceans need whales, and our whales in the Southern Ocean need your help. Donate to Sea Shepherd and help stop Japanese whaling in our Southern Ocean. Visit seashepherd.org.au.
So you can hear in that ad, it's uncomfortable on purpose, and I can see why content directors wouldn't have liked it. And my apologies to the presiding content directors when that ad went to air. But I think sometimes it's important to interrupt that flow state for attention, particularly for brands, because they have 30 seconds or 45 in an hour to make an impression. There's cheap ways to do that, and there's ways you can earn to do that. Chris, you would have had this heaps too, I'm sure. People have said, "Oh, make me an annoying ad so it'll stand out." And 9.9 times out of 10, I'll refuse to do it because I don't want to be the annoying thing on radio. I want to be the entertaining or informing thing on radio.
I was just going to say, look, I would let the client who voices their own commercial handle the annoying ads anyway. We've got a few of those.
It's interesting you say programmers would get annoyed by that, Dicko, because I feel like it's a moment where perhaps you're not listening or you're thinking about flicking, and a pause actually makes you brings your attention back. Now, I reckon an old school programming philosophy would be don't make the ads annoying, but most of the audience now, no matter what age or format, are sitting on a social media feed and scrolling and getting interrupted and annoyed all the time. And the things we stop are the things that we notice. So from a behavior perspective, I would just assume that something like silence is actually a pretty powerful tool.
I think content directors, and I get it, they don't want anyone making their job harder. And I think shit ads make their job harder. And it's something they don't necessarily have control over. I know there's been twice that I know of where program directors have had control over the quality of creative. Both of those involve Gary Roberts. Hello, Gary, if you're listening. 96 FM, when it first started in Perth, first FM station in Perth, and the whole thing was about audio fidelity. And so he and the programming team would gatekeep commercials, and they thought it was shit, didn't get to air. And then Gary again, when Nova started in Perth again, brand new radio station, new license, new proposition, it was never more than 2 ads in a row. And again, we probably more gently, because there was more choice, but still gate-kept commercials. And if something was super shit, then it didn't go to air. We would politely go back to the client and say, hey, can we re-record you something else?
Yeah, really important. Okay, Grego, what have you brought to the table for us today?
Yeah, look, I've brought something for a client called 3 Threes. They're in the food space. So you're talking about mustard, pickles, pickled onions, tinned beetroot, mint jelly, barbecue and tomato sauce. It's a live read, and it's going back a little way, and we're about to re-engage the client again on the air. They always battle for shelf position. 3 Threes, 5th generation Aussie family company. And they want to be seen in the right eye height in Coles and in Woolies. And they've always, battled against the big players. So they commissioned a live read campaign. It was Ray Hadley. And when you write the live, you are writing to, our time, roughly 45 seconds. This happened to be going network. So from Sydney into Brisbane and all the regionals. And with the live, you want to lead to the presenter to a point where they're going above and beyond. But with this live read, it was to the extreme. And that's the element of surprise. So have a listen and stick with it, because it goes for a little while.
If you're serious about the quality of food you eat, you want to be sure where it comes from. And that's why you should buy 3 Threes. Now, you'd probably all be aware and familiar with 3 Threes pickles, the mustard pickles, the best anywhere. Now, let me tell you the 3 Threes mustard pickles. The cucumbers and cauliflower have been coming from the same Hawkesbury district farmer for over 50 years. Same farmer. They support the farmers across Australia. Now, for Queensland listeners, the onions in the 3 Threes pickled onions come from the Lockyer Valley, up your way. And what they did, they found a farmer who could make smaller, or could not make them, he grew them, smaller onions. And that's how they got the smaller onions in the pickled onions in the Lockyer Valley. Down south, Echuca, that's where they grow the tomatos for the 3 Threes tomato sauce. Orange in New South Wales is where they grow the apples for 3 Threes apple sauce. Beetroot is grown in Cowra, and that's the 3 Threes beetroot strips and 3 Threes beetroot relish. I've told you about the pickled onions. They come from Lockyer Valley. I've told you about the mustard pickles, cucumbers and cauliflower coming from the same Hawkesbury district farmer for over 50 years, just over the river there somewhere, from where I'm moving to, Pitt Town. Now, the mushrooms. Hawkesbury district mushrooms are used for 3 Threes mushroom sauce. Why would you buy anything else? And why don't you put on a blue with Coles and Woolies if they don't stock it? So where's the manager? Ring Woolies and Coles head office and say, look, if I can buy tomato sauce from Tomatoes in Echuca, if I can buy apple sauce from 3 Threes from Apples in Orange, if you know what I mean, if I can buy beetroot, 3 Threes beetroot relish and the strips grown in Cowra, if I can get pickled onions from 3 Threes in the Lockyer Valley, if I can get mushroom sauce from the Hawkesbury, if I can also get from the Hawkesbury 3 Threes mustard pickles, why the bloody hell aren't you stocking it, you wood ducks? Second time I've used that in the last 5 minutes, wood ducks, but that's what they are. 3 Threes. They support farmers across Australia, so support them. This is a 5th generation family company that have been going since 1919. And it's one of the few Australian family companies providing food grown here in Australia and manufactured here in Australia. So look for it on your supermarket shelf. If it's not there, blow up and get it there. Get angry with them. Tell them, I mean, don't abuse them, but say, look, I need it to be here. If you want me to buy it, I want you to stock it. And maybe just then they will stock it. 131873 is the open line number, 2gb.com.
So that was over 2 minutes, that live read.
Yeah, that's right. Who would have thunk it? But the client absolutely loved it. And what you can hear there is it's giving the presenter enough ammunition to really feel like they know about the product, and then just sell it to a level that is just really, really genuine, but doing its job in that you would have noticed there, Hadley's calling the buyers at Coles and Woolies wood ducks. And if you don't stock it, I'm going to come and jump through your speakers and do an arty jack and rip your arms off. So it was powerful, but not what you expect. But yeah, he's taken it to the nth. And that's the beauty of a live. If you can really engage the presenter, you're going to get a great result.
Yeah, unexpected surprises are another hidden tool in the toolkit for audio, is do something that's out of the ordinary and surprising. And this next spot you brought us, Dicko, I think does that for West Specs.
Yeah, this was a fun one. And I think the reason I wanted to chat about this is that audio is unique in that there are no excuses for shit ads. There's literally no excuse. You can have one voice. It can be your voice. You can spend 3 days writing. You can spend 3 minutes writing. But if you've got an idea and you can land it with one voice, it can be a really fun campaign. This is one I wrote for West Specs. They are an optometrist in Kalgoorlie. If you know Kalgoorlie, it's a bit of a rough town. So I managed to get the word shart in a radio ad, which was, as a kid that wrote dirty jokes or told dirty jokes into a tape player and wrote poems in birthday cards. My parents were so proud. All that money on private school. But the idea behind this was that, and I really thought about the brief for a long time. And the idea was, your eyes are the last line of defense for mistakes that your hands might make. So you might type something wrong. If you don't have the correct glasses, then there's nothing there to catch it, and the wrong thing may go out into the wild. So here it is, one voice, super deadpan, a bit of deep breathing, and that was really it.
22 millimeters. That's the distance between the E and the T on your keyboard. It's the difference between emailing, "I've got something I need to share," and "I've got something I need to shart." Two very different meanings. Two very different outcomes. Only 22 millimeters apart on your keyboard. That's why you need the best specs. And the best specs are at West Specs.
It's a very funny spot and award-winning, right?
Yeah. We rode that one around the various shows, and it did pretty well. But I think the main point there is that whether you are a regional writer, a metro writer, a creative agency writer from any country whatsoever, you have a keyboard, you have Microsoft Word, and microphones are really cheap. You can create something really there's no excuse for not creating something that is congruous with the medium. In this case, FM radio, it was entertaining. In Chris's case, it's talk radio, it's informative and it's passionate. And I think his example kind of showed that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for bringing on those examples. Just one thing to leave us with from both of you. And Chris, I'll start with you. What's one thing you would say to a content leader, a presenter, someone in the programming or content side of the business about the importance of making sure that the creative in commercials is really top notch?
Well, I think we, kicked off this conversation with that. It's a huge part of your structure and your clock in and hour. And, we're all doing our darndest on the programming side to make sure that the product is of a high quality and is engaging. And there's always been a little bit of a war, even though we'll say we're aligned between sales and content. And there's always that push. But I think it's really important to Dicko's point, to lift the level of the creative, to at that point say, you know what, it doesn't fit our format, or it's not right for our audience, or, and we do it a lot here, you know what, this could just be better. And I don't care that it's going to cost us to remake it for you, but ultimately I want it to work. And I don't think you've put, Mr. Client or Mrs. Client, your best foot forward here with the creative. We just want it to work. That's, for me, I can write you Romeo and Juliet and cast 1,000 voices, but it doesn't matter. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. And that's really my only win. It's nice if I like it, but I like it even more if it works and they keep coming back. So, I think it's vital to keep the audience there through that break. I've spent a lot of time in imaging outside of creative as well, imaging different stations. And the break is very much part of that, the in, the out, and what's in the middle. I would treat it as a whole. It should be whole part of what's coming out of the speakers or your headphones or your smart speaker.
Awesome. And to go?
A couple of things for me. I think from a content point of view, I think we train audiences to think that ads are shit. We'll say 90 minutes, no ads. Coming up, an ad-free hour where you're not going to get annoyed by any annoying ads. And I'm like, if you didn't say that, it wouldn't train people. I've got friends, and it's the most annoying thing. I don't know if you guys are friends with a Flickr and you've been in the car with them. The minute they hear an ad or something, they're out. And I'm like, this is just so annoying. The other side of the coin, and where I understand it from a content director point of view, is that ad breaks are like the radio station kitchen, in that one person puts a bowl with crusty soup in it in the sink, thinking that no one will notice, and then someone else does it, and then the answer becomes, just park it in an ad break and no one will notice. And I think people do notice ad breaks. It's a pivotal time when they might switch or they might stick around. So I think some quality control, if we're able to do that, I think this is where content and creative would be philosophically aligned to say, we're trying to retain listeners. We're all trying to do that. To achieve that, you've got to have a minimum quality floor. You've got to have the Gary Roberts approach of let's not let shit come out through the speakers, and let's maybe hold ourselves to a higher standard. But it's hard when on Facebook you can run anything you want. On YouTube you can run anything you want. TV still holds standards in terms of production quality, but it is hard when other mediums will let you do whatever you want, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, I've enjoyed this immensely. I'm going to give you some homework so I can get you back for a future episode. Find me your favourite ad from overseas, something that you know has worked in the audio space from any market, could be English speaking, non-English speaking, and maybe we catch up again in a couple of weeks and we'll sort of work out what audio commercials and creative commercials sound like from other markets. How does that sound?
Sounds fun.
Already got it.
I knew you would. I knew. Do more homework. Work harder, Tico. Work harder.
Do you want a teaser? It's Greg's Instant Pudding out of New Zealand.
Oh, I love a pud. Do you love a pud?
I don't hate a pud.
Okay.
I've got to be in the mood for it.
That's right. Exactly. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Wade. Thanks, Chris.
Chris Greggson there, Head of Creative Services at Tapt Media, and Matt Dickson, the WA Commercial Strategy Leader for SCA. So both very experienced in the audio creative space, but also, I think, a programmer's friend. So if you're a programmer or you're an EP of a morning show or a drive show, or you're a presenter, go and have a chat to your creative director, assuming you have one. If you don't, that's okay. But think about how creative can work in terms of our audience retention tool. We have the ability for the listeners to tune out at any minute, and what you want to be able to do is retain them and stop fiddling with clocks. Just outside of ad breaks, think about the 3.5, 4 minute, whatever length ad break you've got as a way to retain people. Tomorrow on the Quarter Hour, Liam has another great interview for you. That'll be in your feed first thing in the morning. But for now, dear listener, see ya.
RCS Academy helps broadcasters build practical skills across Zeta, G-Selector and Acquirer. With self-paced online training and certification, teams can strengthen their knowledge, improve workflows and get more value from the technology they use every day. Whether you're onboarding new staff or developing experienced users, RCS Academy makes professional training simple and accessible. To sign up for RCS Academy, contact RCS today.